So, the Flakes in the Senate, led by the outgoing and appropriately named Jeff Flake, have extended this Kavanaugh business for another week while we do a 7th FBI investigation. But, surprisingly, no more, credible allegations have popped up in the past couple of days. Well, I guess you can question if any of these are actually credible, but not much has happened as far as that other than waiting for the FBI. So we'll still talk about a little bit on that. But good thing that we have our guest for this episode, Willie Billups, because he is running for U.S. Congress in the 33rd District in Texas. And that's a House race. So we don't have to talk about Kavanaugh. So that's that's great. So all that on this episode of Trend Chat.
From the highways of America, here's the podcast where we talk politics, a little entertainment, some culture, and this and that, from the road to your ears. This is Trend Chat with your host, Brian Bledsoe.
And welcome to another episode of Trend Chat. I'm your host, Brian Bledsoe. And if you want to connect with us, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. It's all the same name, Trend Chat 24/7. So, yes, I think, in the last episode, I said hopefully when we come back, he would have been, confirmed. When I say he, I'm talking about Judge Brett Kavanaugh. And I was hoping that we would be coming on right now just to say, like, well, the vote went through, it went down partisan lines, and he was confirmed by 50. Mike Pence had to come down and give the final vote for him to be confirmed or whatever, something like that. Or he would have been confirmed, just put it that way. But no. Like I mentioned, the Flakes, led by Jeff Flake, and they had the testimony on Thursday between the accuser, Christine Dr. Ford, and Judge Brett Kavanaugh. And after that, they discussed about whether they want to, whether they're going to vote him out of the Judiciary Committee. And he did come out of committee. He did get out of that at least. But Senator Flake said, I will not be a yes unless we have a FBI investigation. And because the count is so narrow, because we have a very narrow error margin for the Republicans to vote yes, because outside of maybe one or two Democrats who are in red states that are up for election this upcoming midterm, all the other Democrats are automatically voting no. So they said it was voting no before the hearing even started. So the fact they even had this hearing of Dr. Ford, you weren't going to vote for him anyway. So I don't know, you wasn't going to change your mind before that. So anyway, so Senator Flake said that he needed that FBI investigation. Like I said, this will be the 7th one. But apparently, they need to do it again. I can just imagine telling the FBI, could you investigate Judge Brett Kavanaugh? We did this 6 times, right? No, we need you to do it one more time. All right. pretty sure probably going to come up the same thing, but all right. But then President Trump agreed. I mean, mainly because you had to, because you needed Flakes' vote, unless you're going to flip one of the Democrats like Joe Manchin or Heidenkamp out of what was it, North Dakota? I might have got that wrong, but yeah. Now, speaking of Senator Flake, he got his wish with that, with the FBI investigation. But honestly, I feel like after hearing some of his comments after everything, after the hearing and recently, the past couple of days, I feel like he's laying the groundwork to vote no, regardless of what comes out with the investigation. I mean, now he's out there saying he's concerned about how Judge Kavanaugh came across during his remarks as far as being emotional. Like that concerned him, sounding like the Democrats who were making that same argument as well, on top of other things. And I mean, for one, Democrats will never be satisfied. Let's just say that right now. So if you had the investigation and nothing, they found nothing again, they still would say, well, a week was too short of a time. We need more time for this investigation. We shouldn't just limit this to 1 week. I mean, you've been hearing that already, which that was expected. And then if they do find something, or whatever, and then it depends on what they find. So what if it depends on, it could be something minor. It could be something that doesn't confirm anything that was been alleged, or what. If there's any little thing in the FBI's investigation that is different than whatever it's been in the past, regardless of how small it is, Democrats are going to use it like, well, no, they found this. Well, we need to do another investigation, because it's all about stalling. It's all about stalling this. It's all the way to the midterms, and with the chance of being able to take control of the Senate and then to basically have the seat open all the way to 2020. That's basically what it's all coming down to. And Jeff Flake is helping them. So, and like I said before, I think he is going to, like I said, he is the outgoing senator. He's not up for re-election. And after this term, he'll be gone next year. And honestly, I feel like he's kind of doing this as another move, kind of just to stick it to the president in a way. I think that's one motivating factor for Flake. And plus, because they also get all this attention, and also it's kind of really sets him up for a nice little job somewhere, especially anywhere in the media, because they love him now. He's standing up for democracy. He's standing up for for bipartisanship. He's such a great guy. I mean, so this it's setting him up real well for when he goes to be a contributor for CNN or something like that, or get a book or whatever and all that. Anyway, care less about it. I can't wait for him to leave. And then again, who could be potentially replacing them? It might not be any much better, but hey, whatever. I mean, regardless of the Republican or the Democrat in the Arizona race that is going on. But anyway, all this. With all this is going on, it's another part as far as where the media, Democrats, they're all kind of picking apart what Judge Brett Kavanaugh was how his emotions were during his remarks, which I would say, like, okay, if you were falsely accused and on top of all the things that have been said about you, yeah, why wouldn't you be somewhat emotional? And it's funny because he was emotional, they felt like, oh, well, that's not the temperament we should have in the Supreme Court. And this is another one of those where they would never be satisfied, because if he would have came up and did his remarks in a calm manner, they would have said that he's probably a sociopath or something, and he has no emotion. And we can't have somebody like that because he has no empathy or anything like that. So yeah, you're not going to win regardless. But the fact that you have Republicans like Flake even helping out with that narrative is not surprising nowadays, especially with Flake, but still. But on the flip side of this, one thing I've noticed, maybe I don't know, maybe it's something I haven't noticed, but who is this senator from South Carolina named Lindsey Graham? I haven't seen this guy before. Who is this guy? I've known about another Lindsey Graham, but that's not this guy. And I feel like someone has, kidnapped the real Lindsey Graham and replaced him with someone that I actually, back in 2016, well, any presidential year, normally when it comes down, when the primary time and you have your list of candidates, I put together a list of all the candidates, and then I rank them from one to however many that are in there. And I remember Lindsey Graham was like at the bottom of 16 candidates back then, and Lindsey Graham was like, well, he wasn't dead last. He was like third to last, if I can remember. But I know he was at the bottom. He was at the very bottom, close to it at least. Now this Lindsey Graham that I've been hearing the past couple of days, this Lindsey Graham would have maybe been up in the, I ain't gonna say he wouldn't have been at the top, but he would have been close to the middle at least. But I've just been kind of taken aback by it. I don't know. It's just like, who is this guy? But that was just something I've noticed in different interviews and whatnot, especially when his remarks during the hearing after the on Thursday. Yeah. So, but anyway, like I said, I don't want to keep going on and on about it, because like I said, there's not much that really happened. But one thing, it's kind of telling, really, that you have all this. I mean, how the leftists and the Democrats and the media, how they're so scared, so scared about having Judge Kavanaugh go, maybe potentially go to the Supreme Court. And one of those issues, because they keep bringing it up, and they call it women's rights. Honestly, it's not even about that. It's really about abortion. Roe v. Wade, or Planned Parenthood versus Casey, whichever one. But that's where that is what the actual issue is. I mean, they want to deem it women's rights. They always want to talk about it in that framework, but it's not even about that, because all of us, I mean, that is bipartisan. We are for women's rights. That is a bipartisan opinion. It's just about abortion where we have the issue, where you have the Democrats that are for it and conservatives are against it. And the thing about it is, it's not even the fact that it's not even a guarantee if Judge Kavanaugh, even if he goes to the Supreme Court, if anything will even happen to Roe v. Wade or anything about abortion. It's just the potential of something happening, because that's basically all they're going on. But just the potential of that being threatened, that they will not be able to continue killing babies. Like, just that potential is freaking them out. And I would hope it would happen if Judge Kavanaugh goes to the Supreme Court. I would hope that, a case will come through and basically abolish abortion. I would love that. But it's not a guarantee. He may get confirmed and then nothing happens. That's a very good possibility. But to them, even the little bit chance is too much. And they are using every trick in the book to not even have that chance. So, but, one thing in particular, there's a couple of things I'm going to bring up before we get to our interview with Willie Billups. But before that, let's hear a word from my friends with the Founding Project.
Hello, Trend Chat listeners. If you like the Founding Project's Civics Education video series, Civics for All Ages, and our educational meme series, we think you will love our new website. Join us at thefoundingproject.com and be a part of the civics movement. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Please join us today.
Commentary as subtle as a sledgehammer. This is Trend Chat.
All right. So, this is one other thing that is really irritating to me with this whole Kavanaugh drama. I keep trying to think of other ways to describe this. Kavanaugh drama, Kavanaugh. Now I can't even remember what the other ones I was using. But anyway, as one aspect that it's troubling and, like I said, irritating is looking into the black community in particular that are kind of approving what is going on, especially when it comes to these allegations, right? I just can't believe the black community is even putting up with this in particular. Just this part. Like, I can understand the politics of it, obviously, because 90% of black community vote Democrat, and whatever. That's not the thing. The thing to me is that this in particular about Judge Kavanaugh, about these allegations that are very thin, and that is basically he said, she said type of allegation. And I can only imagine, if you had this same scenario with the black man in Judge Kavanaugh's position, I can't imagine how the same people right now that are saying, well, we need to believe her, or hashtag believe all women, or believe women, and they're going right along with this and believing Dr. Ford over Kavanaugh. But if a black man was in this exact same position as Kavanaugh, I'm pretty sure they will call it racist. Everything's racist, and especially for a lot of the liberal blacks, But if this, if this was going on, they would call this a travesty of justice, and wouldn't have no parts of this. Because too many times, whether you have incidents that are, whether involving the police, you have, so a lot of times when you can insert whatever, national police, police incident that involved a black person. And then when it goes to trial, then all the evidence comes out, and maybe You know, if the evidence showing that the person who would, the suspect was at fault or something like that. And regardless of all the evidence, then they still say like, well, the system is against black people, whatever like that. In this sense, if you had a case where you literally only had it's the officers, it's the officer against the suspect. It's like I said, he said. And I can only imagine how the same people who are all for believing Dr. Ford against Judge Brett Kavanaugh, how they would feel if they, if you had this happen for, like to insert any national viral police incident involving a black person. And if it came down to something like this, yes, I'm pretty sure, yeah, they'll feel the same way. They were like, yeah, we should just believe the police. But anyway, speaking of the black community, I guess, in a way, I did not watch Saturday Night Live, but I definitely heard about it. I mean, what's the point? I could have told you what was going to be on Saturday Night Live without even having to watch it. And so they had a season premiere, and yes, the opening segment was about Judge Kavanaugh. And they had Matt Damon out there, doing his best, the best to mock Judge Kavanaugh in every way possible. I'm kind of surprised they didn't have Alyssa Milano in the back because she was at the hearing too. I'm surprised she wasn't in the back, like holding little signs and doing it, making it extra funny for the liberals. But also they had Kanye West there he was a musical guest, and he came out there with a MAGA hat on at the end. And I know he mentioned that the people backstage were telling him he couldn't come out there with a hat on, but he came out there. I'm just surprised they let him come out there at all with the hat on. Like once he walked out there, I'm surprised they just didn't cut the show. They just, you know what? No, you know what? We're just gonna end it about 10 minutes early. I mean, I don't know. But that was weird. But hey, he got out there. He was able to still, he had a pro-Trump message, and they let it run. Well, not all the way, but they did cut him. But at least he came out there. I'm surprised they even let him on the show at all, even without the hat. But hey, he got on there. But yeah, like I said, it was no point of really watching it, but I saw the clips of it, and like I said, that was just he's still doing his thing out there. I mean, I'm still don't know where he's at really. So I guess we'll just see. But the jury's still out on where this gonna go with old Kanye. So anyway, let's get to our interview with Willie Billups. Like I said, he's running for U.S. Congress in the 33rd District in Texas. And so after a word from Politichicks, we'll hear the interview with Willie Billups. Hello, this is Brian Bledsoe, host of Trend Chat. Also contributor at Politichicks.com. Here to tell you about the new book called Politichicks, A Clarion Call to Political Activism, with over 300 pages from contributors like myself, talking about topics such as education, social issues, healthcare, the Second Amendment, and of course, activism. I encourage you all to check it out at Politichicks.com, and is also available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
This is Dana Lash, and you're listening to Trend Chat.
Hello, this is Trend Chat, and we are very pleased to have Willie Billups with us. He is running for U.S. Congress in the 33rd District in Texas. How you doing, Mr. Billups?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you so much.
So,
to be here.
So first thing, I guess, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and also like what inspired you to run for a representative.
Okay, a little bit about myself. I'm a retired Army officer, 20 years in the military, 12 years Marine Corps, 8 years Army. 20-year cancer survivor. You know, colon cancer took my mom's life when I was 6 years old and she was 35. So that just went over my 20-year anniversary. So, you know, I'm really interested in this healthcare deal because, you know, my kids have an interest in it. My kids are at risk of being exposed to colon cancer because it's genetic. I'm a small business owner, and I'm a father of four. What inspired me to run is I'm tired of all of the gridlock. I'm tired of the lack of representation. I'm tired of the partisanship going on in Washington. We don't all agree politically. We all have different views. But our representatives ought to be able to go to Washington and accurately talk or be able to talk to each other to work issues that are important to us, the people, that affect us, the people. But instead, they go to Washington and they fill it with so much of us and them and special interests that they get nothing done. And we got to put into that stuff. Whatever happened to putting the American back in America?
Like I looked over, you know, on your website as far as the issues. Given that you just mentioned healthcare, one thing I wanted to ask you is, like, of all the issues, like, what is the one issue you're most passionate about?
Oh goodness, there's several, but we get criminal justice reform, healthcare. Healthcare affects me and my family. Criminal justice reform, because, you know, as a young man growing up, I didn't have my father in my life because when I was one, he got locked up in prison. But one of the things that, and over the course of the next 30 years, he was in and out of the prison system. And I'd like to see us address some of that. I'd like to see us actually deal with that. And I believe that that is something that our U.S. Congress can take up, and we can do that through some criminal justice reform. And we can do that with five simple steps. Number one, let's make sure that people that come out of prison got a high school diploma, because most of them in prison don't have that. Let's make sure that, number two, let's make sure that we address any sort of addictions or mental health issues when we get these people in the penal system, in the criminal justice system. Therefore, when they come out of prison, that those issues have already been addressed and they're on the path to recovery and to becoming a productive citizen of society. Number three, let's get them a skilled labor or trade. You know, masonry, electrician, carpentry. I mean, CDL driving the truck. I mean, I own a trucking company, and I do pretty well to take care of my family, and that's a great skill to have. And people coming out of prison, that's something they can do, and it doesn't cost much money to invest in those people so that they can take care of themselves. Number four, let's get them a guidance counselor, maybe a year or two out before they get out of prison, so they can develop a plan and be on a path to be a productive member of society when they get out of prison. And number five, let's get them a way that we can repay some of this training, some of this cost of rehabilitation, so that it's not passed on to the normal taxpayer, and the taxpayer feels some sort of way, way about the prisoner, some person coming out of prison, being taken care of in prison and getting all this training just to be reintroduced in society. And lastly, after they've been out of prison for a while, let's give them a clean bill of health, meaning let's put that record away and give them a chance to actually start over. You can go out and apply for hundreds of jobs, but if it shows that you're a criminal and you don't have any training, you're destined to go back to prison. Let's put an end to that. Let's stop this revolving door on the prison system.
Oh, okay. So, you know, one thing in particular, as far as getting able to speak with you, especially in the past week, because this race is in the House, I don't have to ask you anything about Judge Kavanaugh, which makes it very refreshing because I don't have to talk about that right now. But the thing about it is that even though with all the drama that's been going on around that, one thing that kind of flew under the radar is a lot of spending. Like a major spending bill just passed a couple of days ago. And,
yeah,
you know, not many people knew about that because everybody's focused on what's going on with the Supreme Court. But, I mean, here we go again with more spending. And I just want to ask you, what do you think about all the spending that is going on and what you plan to do, when you get to Washington?
I think that this is a double-edged sword. And I'm going to talk about the good and the bad. The good thing is we got a bill to keep the government open, and we're not holding the pistol to we're not basically threatening the people who need the services of the federal government by threatening shutdowns and any of that stuff. We actually got a spending bill through. That's great. The bad part, and this is the tragedy of it, we got way too much spending going on. Why are we spending money we don't have? Spending money we do not have is fiscally irresponsible, and you can't do that. It doesn't work in your personal finances. It doesn't work in business. There's only so much credit that you can get that you should be able to get, and that goes even for our country. And we shouldn't be servicing so much debt. We've got to get ballot. We've got to start passing ballots, budgets, and balanced legislation. We've got to get better and become more of a fiscally responsible government. And I intend to definitely bring some of that to be fiscally responsible and to help balance the budget. We got to start doing that.
Yeah, I mean, we've been going on and on. I mean, basically, like every couple of months, it just seemed like it just keep. I guess to me, it just seemed like kicking the can down the road, and just sooner or later it was going to come to a head. But
sooner or later, all of that is going to come up sooner or later. I mean, it seems like everybody puts it off until somebody else gets in office. Well, let's push it down the road a little more. And a lot of that comes from the spending. A lot of it comes in the special interest stuff. Stop the special interest. Let's put the American back in America. Now, let's pass a budget that the American people can live with, and not a budget that is going to be so filled with debt that it's going to come due, and our children have to pay for that.
Yeah. Now, one thing you did mention just a few minutes ago is about running a trucking business now, and everyone knows on the podcast I'm a truck driver as well. So that's the one thing. I guess, as a truck driver myself, and I guess just tell us a little bit about your business.
A small business. Operate my truck here within Texas. I try to keep my business here within the state of Texas. That's just for operational purposes, but it's do regional transportation work, regional short transportation work, definitely around the Metroplex and around the state of Texas, maybe in Oklahoma periodically. I've been prior to owning my own transportation, my own trucking company. I was an airline pilot. I flew for SkyWest Airlines out of Chicago O'Hare. And I flew jets across North America. And prior to that, I was a military pilot. So, although I own a trucking company, a lot of my training, a lot of my profession and skills are in the aviation and airline world. And that was one of the reasons why I started. Was I wanted to get a trucking company so that I could have my own airplanes and do more logistics. And who's to say that someday, whenever I'm done with Congress, that I won't move back in that direction. But aviation is where my heart is. Me starting a transportation company was just to get to where I really want to be, and that's in the air.
Okay. Now, one thing I saw that you participated in, I forgot the actual name of it, but it was more of like an African American assembly on the 29th of September.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot that's your name. I had it up, but I don't have it in front of me right now. But I saw your name on there, and also I remember, we both were in the room when they had the African American Republicans at the Texas GOP convention as well, and I've been kind of taking a part of that. I just want to ask you, how was that event on the 29th, and how did that go?
The event on the 29th was great. What we did was we got over in East Texas, they're starting a minority engagement coalition, and they've got people they got some elected officials, some candidates, and they got us in together to talk about ways to engage minorities. And that's what we talked about, and that's what we discussed, and how do you engage minorities. And what it was basically is, the GOP has been absent in a lot of minority communities, which, if you look historically, that isn't the way it was, because the Republican Party of Texas, the Republican Party of the United States, the Republican National Committee was actually started by President Lincoln, Frederick Douglass, and freed black slaves. Here in the state of Texas, the Republican Party here in the state of Texas were actually started with a large help, lots of help, majority of the help from free black slaves. And nowadays, if you look at just the way that the politics have taken shape, the parties have taken shape, the Republican Party is really absent in the minority communities. And we like to see that change. And we not only like to see that change, we are a part of that change, and we are going to make that change happen.
So, as of right now, we're coming up pretty close to a month until election days, especially on November 6th. So, right now, how's the campaign going, and do you have any upcoming events?
The campaign is coming along very well. We are building up tons of momentum. Somebody said it best. The train is on the track, and once it gets started, you can't stop it. And right now, it's definitely moving down the track, and it can't be stopped. There's a lot of momentum going. A lot of people are taking notice. A lot of voters are reaching out and letting me know how much that they agree. They're letting me know how much that they're paying attention and listening. So the campaign is and how much and more importantly, they let me know how much I resonate with them. That my story is a story of theirs, and how inspired and energized they are. So the campaign is going really well. Coming up, I've got a lot of things going on. I like to get out and personally block walk with my supporters. So it's not uncommon to catch me on the evening or weekend out knocking on doors. I mean, hey, I could be knocking on your door because I believe in being personal and asking for your vote. And it gives you a minute to talk to me, and it gives me a minute to talk to hear directly from you. So it's not uncommon, and don't be surprised if you catch me knocking on your door to ask you for your vote. But we've got that. I'm going to be at a couple of the national night outs, and we're going to start doing town halls. That's right. We're going to start holding town halls more and more within the different communities, and let the people come out and have their say, and let me hear and let me talk to them. And the biggest part as being a veteran is I want the people to hold me accountable. As a veteran, accountability is a big deal in the military.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still a big deal in my life, especially as a business owner. Accountability is really huge. So I want the people to hold me accountable, not only now, but after the election when they elect me. So I'm going to be more and more in the community, doing more town halls and talking to the people so that we can, one, develop a better relationship and understanding of each other's needs and desires, as well as I can begin to place myself before the people, let the people know, and let the people know that in Willie Billups, they have a servant. They have a servant who wants to serve them and wants to be held accountable to them.
Before we let you go, just anyone that is listening right now, and especially that are in the Metroplex, and that are in the area to vote for you, let them know why should they vote for Willie Billups, and also I guess tell them where the 33rd district in Texas actually is.
The 33rd Congressional District in Texas is in between Interstate 35E and Interstate 35W in Dallas County and Tarrant County. In Dallas County, it extends from Farmers Branch down to Oak Cliff, coming down, and it goes into all of South Irving, south of 183, and then it goes into Grand Prairie and Arlington, North Arlington, East Arlington, North Arlington, then it goes over into Fort Worth. When it gets into Fort Worth, it extends from the Saginaw Stockyard area all the way down to Forestville, Everman, right before you get to Burleson. And that is the district. It also includes South Hotham City. So those are the areas of the district. And why should they vote for me? Well, this is simple. I'm not a career politician. I actually have a history of serving this great nation, serving the people. I have committed to the people and once before to serve them and to serve them alone. So that oath and that commitment still stands strong today. As a service member, we take an oath that says, I, Willie K. Billups, do solemnly swear to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, and I do hereby swear allegiance to the same. That is an oath that is taken to the Constitution. And then when you take an oath to the Constitution, that is an oath to the people because the Constitution was made for the people. It is the people where the government gets its authority to govern. It is the people that legitimizes the government. It is the people that the government should be responsible to. And the people, I'm asking people to vote for me because I want to be a representative and serve the people and to serve them honestly, faithfully, transparent, with commitment. And so I want to be that representative that the people know, that they see always, not just when the cameras are around. I've served the people before. I ask that they trust in that service again and allow me to serve them again, selflessly. Put the people over politics.
Well, if that doesn't convince anyone, I don't know what will. I know I'm convinced. I wish I was in your district. I would vote for you. So, but
I wish you was in my district. You can vote too. Every vote counts.
So, well, if people want to, even though people like myself maybe couldn't vote, but if they want to help out or want to reach out on social media, where would they go?
Okay, so you can find me on Facebook, and that's at Billups for Congress, and that's at Billups, B as in boy, ILLUPS for Congress. You can find me on Facebook, or you can find me on the World Wide Web at www.billupsforcongress.com, and that's my last name again, B as in boy, ILLUPS, billupsforcongress.com. And on that website, you can find ways on the website as well as on Facebook. You can find ways to reach me. You can find ways to get in touch with the campaign. You can also donate on the website and on Facebook. So there's a couple of ways. Also, if you wanted to get some of the text messages that we sent out, you can text Willie, and that's my first name, Willie, WILLIE, to 53445, and that's text Willie to 53445, and that puts you in contact with the campaign, and it tells you out when we're out block walking. If I'm at an event, what am I doing? What's going on? And that transparency that I was talking about earlier, I like to keep that texting service that the people know. We're going to keep that when I get in the office, so the people know and they can hear directly from me what's going on. I don't like it when people I've always hated it when people get in office and they disappear, and you've got to go through how many people to get in touch with them just to find out what they're doing, because you never know.
Yeah.
I want to keep up the communication channels and make them broader and more open, where the people can actually sign up and listen to what's going on directly from me. And that texting service is how I'm going to continue to do that.
All right. Willie Billups, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk again soon when you're in Washington.
Thank you so much. You have a great day, and I look forward to chatting with you again.
Yep, and thanks to Willie Billups for joining us. We're here at the end, and just want to say next episode we'll have Ron White with us. He's running for the 6th district in Texas for the U.S. House. So we'll have him on. And, and listening back to the interview, and I was just thinking about I'm still thinking about what I was going to name this episode, because I still haven't figured it out. You know what I'm going to go with? I think I'm going to go with the Flakes in the Senate, how I started it off, or the Flaky Senate or something like that. I don't know. So, like I said, we'll have Ron Wright with us on the next episode, which will be on Thursday. So, until then, we'll chat with you later.